Good evening to everyone. So today we are going to discuss the rest of the lesson. That means I have discussed the real numbers. I have done the previous things. That means all the explanations and all the things I have done those things. Now we all know what are real numbers and how we are going to divide them. So after that, today I am going to move to the surds and all. How we are going to simplify surds, how we are going to add those things, what are surds and all the things we are going to learn today. So first of all, right, I will repeat the same thing that we have learned. We learned the real numbers, right? So in your tutorial you have the real numbers. So we divided these real numbers into two parts, right? We divided this into two parts. So these real numbers, we divided them rational numbers and irrational numbers, right? Rational and irrational, right? So rational numbers, in rational numbers, we had the numbers that we can see the magnitude. That means if we can write down it as a fraction, right? We had two things. In this case also we had integers. Can you remember what are integers? All the plus numbers, that means all whole numbers, plus 1, plus 2, plus 3 are those were positive integers. Minus 1, minus 2, minus 3 are likewise all those things were minus. That means negative integers. With 0, this whole set, all the positive integers and all the negative integers with 0, including 0, we got them as integers. And the other things that we can take, it was fractions. So we had fractions. So these fractions also we were able to simplify them and write it as decimals. So we got the finite decimals, and the recurring decimals, right? Okay, we discussed all these things, right? That's all we had. And in irrational numbers in this case, right, we were unable to write those things as recurring decimals or finite decimals. So the numbers that we are going to write it as infinite decimals and those things we are going to take them as irrational numbers. So the real numbers, we call this, we use the letter Greek as R, and irrational numbers we used it as Q, right? This was Q, and irrational we use, it is not the set of Q, that means not a rational number, it is a irrational number. So Q dash was the sign that we have used. For integers also we use that Z-like thing. So if you need integers, we have used Z-like thing. This is the number. And then fractions, recurring and infinite, finite, likewise we got. So now today the part that I am going to discuss will be all the rational numbers, integers, fractions, recurring decimals, infinite decimals, finite, infinite, all the things we have discussed. Today the part I am going to discuss will be, I am discussing the irrational numbers. That means about the infinite decimals. We have learned this. We have learned the infinite decimals. We have learned about the infinite decimals on the previous day, right? Now, in this case, we have something called surds. Surds. So today, I am going to discuss about those surds. This will be the today's topic. Before we start the surds, please take this diagram. It is in your tutorial, right? Keep a tutorial aside. And in your writing book, just write down as real numbers and divide it into two as rational and irrational, and rational into integers and fractions, fractions into recurring and finite, irrational, you can take it as infinite decimals, right? So just take this one, and after taking this diagram, you can write down the topic as surds. So today's topic will be based on surds, and we are going to discuss about the surds. Take it quickly. Right. Now I will discuss about the surds. So y'all can write down the topic as surds. First write down the topic as surds. Don't worry, slowly, one by one I will teach. So we haven't used this word previously in earlier grades, right? So this is a new part, so don't worry if you don't know surds, right? It is better if you don't know what are surds, right? You know this name, not the surds. You know this. In grade 8, you all are starting to learn about these things. That means the radical sign, right? The square roots and all, you all have learned. So you know this. We call this the radical sign, right? This is the radical sign. By using this radical sign, if we are going to write down any number, inside this radical sign, that means by using this radical sign, inside that if we are going to write any number means my dear, any one, any whole number, any decimal, whatever it is, you can write anything inside this. If you are going to write any number like this, right, this will be, how we are going to read it? Square root of 2. Now you all have practiced like that. The square root of 2. Likewise, you know, right? That means the symbol you can take. This is the square root. Likewise, you can take it. No problem. But shall we do something? I will write down the square numbers first. 1 square. That means 1 into 1. It means 1. 2 square. That means 2 into 2, it is 4. 3 square, that means 3 into 3, 9. 4 square, so 4 into 4, 16. I discussed earlier these things on the previous day. Can you all remember? The square numbers, we discussed these things. What are square numbers and all? Right. So my dear, these are the square numbers. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100. Likewise, you got many square numbers, right? So, you know, any whole number multiplying by itself, you will receive a square number. Now, if we are going to write down this number 1 and use the radical sign, or 4 and use the radical sign, or 9 and use the radical sign. My dear, now we all know the square root of 1. This is the square root of 4, square root of 9. If you have something like this, this means how this 1 got created. We know 1 got multiplied by 1 and we have got the answer as 1. So we can write down this 1. 1 into 1 means 1 to the power 2. And the square root of that, so that we can cut off the square root with the square. And the answer we will receive will be 1. So the square root of 1, we can obtain the answer as 1. We are capable of finding this answer. The actual thing is this. If we add 5 and if we subtract 5, it will be cancelled. If I am going to give you 5 rupees, and again, if I ask for that 5 rupees, what will happen? Nothing will happen. I gave you 5. So, for the amount you have, if the amount you have is 100, 100 plus 5, I will give 5. So, 100 plus 5, it will be 105. Now, with you, you have 105. Again, I am asking for that 5. So, you are removing 5. That means you are giving 5. So, 105 minus 5, again, it will be turned to 100. That means nothing has happened. Plus 5 and minus 5 has been gone off. That means cancelled. Right? So here also the opposite things. Square and the square root. Like addition and subtraction. Those are opposites. Multiplication and division opposites. Squares and square roots are also the same. Those are opposites. So you will be able to obtain this. Here also the same thing, my dear. 4 means 2 into 2. That means 2 to the power 2, you can write down this as 2 to the power 2 and the square root of that. Again, you can cut off the square and the square root, so the answer will be 2, so you can obtain it as 2. Finally, 9 is there. 9 means 3 into 3, right? This is 3 into 3. So 3 to the power 2, right? Square root of it. So you can cut off the square and the square root, so the answer will be 3. Right? This is the way of obtaining these kind of things. So these numbers 1, 4, 9 are those square numbers. We call these the perfect squares. We call these numbers the perfect squares. Right? These are very nice. Mama kiyana singaleng lassana ilakana. Lassana sums. Right? For these 1, 4, 9, 16, all those. Ari lassanai matana. Because if you use the radical sign, we will be able to obtain a nice answer like this. Right? The square root of 1, it is 1. We can obtain it. Square root of 4, it is 2. Likewise, we will be able to obtain it. But my dear, there is an issue. 1, we will obtain it as 1. 4, we will obtain it as 2. 9, we will obtain it as 3. But if you take the numbers between these two, between 1 and 4, that means 2, 3, here between 4 and 9, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you take all these numbers and the square root of those things, here if you take something like this, do you know how 2 has been created? 1 got created by multiplying the same thing, 1 by 1. 4 got created 2 by 2. As a power of 2, can you write this 2? No, you are not. Right? You are not supposed to write like that. Why? You don't have a way. You can tell 1 into 2, but not the same number. So you should write it 1 into 1. If it is 1 into 1, the same number is there, so you can use the power 2. That means as a square, you will be able to write it. But 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, these numbers, you can't write them like that. So these numbers, we are going to call them the surds. These are surds. Right? So these are surds. That means any whole number, if we are using the radical sign, but it should not be a perfect square. Square number Square number if it is a square number, you will obtain an integer. You will obtain a whole number. So if you obtain a whole number, it will be a rational number, right? So it will be a rational number. But these kind of cases, square root of 2, square root of 3, square root of 5, all these numbers, right? We don't have a whole number like this. Actually, the thing is, we don't have a rational number like this. So from these cases, the square root of 2, square root of 3, all these numbers, if we write it by using decimals, we can write it by using infinite decimals. We don't have a way to write it as a recurring decimal or a finite decimal. Though we write it like that, we will obtain an infinite decimal. So such things will be taken to the irrational numbers. So these kind of things, we are going to name them as surds. Right. Take this down first. First of all, under surds, just put this symbol and write down this is the radical sign. And then listen, just write down in a writing book subtopic as square numbers and just take these 4 things and put an arrow like this and write down perfect squares. These are perfect squares. And show when you use the radical sign to these perfect squares, what will happen. So the answer will be a whole number, right? And show that in between these two, square root of 2 and square root of 3, in between these two, square root of 5, square root of 6, square root of 7, square root of 8, all those things, right? So if you take such numbers, these will be known as surds, right? Use the red pen and write down these things. These are known as surds, right? Copy this one. Right. So if you take the value of this square root of 2, I just write down. If you take the value of the square root of 2, just Google and see, right? So you can Google and see. Just Google and see the square root of 2. I told you on the previous day also. You will obtain something called 1.41421351, like, right? So here, if you judge the decimals, you can identify it is not recurring. That means it is not repeating the same number. So there is no any order. So it is not getting finished even. So just see, you can Google and see the square root of 2. If you don't have the symbol, just type it as square root of 2. So the answer you will obtain it something like this, right? So these kind of things will be taken as infinite decimals. So infinite decimals means those ones will be taken as irrational numbers, right? So irrational numbers, in irrational numbers, all these things will be taken as irrational numbers because of that, right? Now you have an idea. If you use the rational, wait. If you use this square root symbol, that means the radical sign to any number, do you obtain a surd? No, ne? Why? If you are putting the radical sign to 4, we can simplify and take the answer as 2. It is a rational number, so it is not a surd, my dear. That's it. So other than the perfect squares, right? Other than the perfect squares, to all the other numbers, if you put the radical sign, you will obtain a surd. Those are the things that we are going to call the surds. Right? Finished. That's all. So you know now what are surds and all. So we are going to discuss about these things now. Right. Under which you wrote, you can write down and show if you need. Square root of 2 is something like this. So that means this will be taken to the infinite decimals. So infinite decimals, right? Infinite decimals. Infinite decimals means that means not rational. That means irrational numbers, right? So finally, surds will be under. This is a surd. So surd will be written as an infinite decimal, and infinite decimal means it is an irrational number. So surds will be taken under irrational number. So that means we can't give the actual value. That means all these surds, right? Surds means we cannot written as a fraction, right? So cannot be written as a fraction, right? So if we take any surd, we can't write it as a fraction. If you take the square root of 4, you will write down the answer as 2. If the answer is 2 as a fraction, we can write down 2 divided by 1, it is only 2. So we can write this as a fraction, right? So this is not a surd. This is not a surd. Not a surd. Though we have used the radical sign, this is not a surd because this is a perfect square. Lassana sankhyawa. Mama kiyu ilakkan lassanai kiyala kiyanawa mama. Right? Those are very nice. If we have a perfect square, why we can simplify and find the answer. But the thing is, if you don't use a nice number, that means if you are using a number which is not a perfect square, you can't find the answer directly. So you are in trouble. So those things we are going to call them as surds. Got it? I think it is clear for you all. Right? So you all can write this down. Just write down this and write down this is a surd. Right? This is a surd. So it will be taken as, here this is infinite decimal. So it is an irrational numbers taken to the irrational numbers. So surds will be all automatically this. Use your red pen and write down. A surd cannot be written as a fraction, right? Cannot be written as a fraction. Cannot be written as a fraction. Right. If you need, you can write this as well. Not a surd, because you have a perfect square inside the radical sign. Right? Inside the radical sign, you have a perfect square. So, this will not be taken as a surd. Again, Singaling was surd karani. We call them karani. Right? Okay. Right. Okay. Now, something more than this. Right? Something more than this. If I take, listen to me very carefully, 8, the square root of 8. If I take the square root of 8, right, you all will identify, you guys can write down this 8. Me අට ඔයාලට ලියන්න පුළුවන්ද? පොඩ්ඩක් හිතමු මේ මෙහෙම එකක් කියන්නම් මම සිංහලෙන් කියන්නම් මේක. නිකන් හිතන්න අපි දැන් මොකක් හරි දෙයක් දිහා බලලා ලස්සනයිද කැතයිද කියලා අපිට ඩිසයිඩ් කරන්න පුළුවන්. Can see and we can tell whether it is nice or not. ලස්සනයි නම් ලස්සනයි කියන්න පුළුවන්, කැතයි නම් කැතයි කියන්නත් පුළුවන්. සමහර දේවල් තියෙනවා නේද shape දේවල්. shape ගොඩක් ලස්සනක් නැහැ, කැතත් නැහැ. ලස්සනත් නැහැ, කැතත් නැහැ. shape අවුලක් නැහැ වගේ ඒවා තියෙනවා. දැන් maths වලදී දැන් මම මේ පාඩමේදී real numbers වලදී ලස්සනයි කියලා කිව්වේ. Right? For the surds. Surds. No. I told you, if we have a perfect square inside the radical sign, perfect square එකක් තිබ්බොත් 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36 ඕවා තිබ්බොත් those are nice numbers. That means perfect squares. So ඒවා ලස්සනයි කියලා තමයි අපි ගන්නේ. හරිනේ? 1, 4, 9, 16, 25 නොවන අනිත් ඔක්කොම, all the other numbers other than 1, 4, 9, 16, right? All the other numbers, those things we are going to take them as kata sankhya, not nice, huh? Because if we use the radical sign, we are in trouble, that's it, right? So we have two sides. ඔන්නම ලස්සන ඒවා ගන්නම්කො මෙහෙම නිකන් 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144, 169, 196, 225. ඔය ඔක්කොම හරි ලස්සන ඒවා. Right? So I will call these things lassana. Yeah? So nice things, I will write down those numbers as lassana numbers. Right? And the kata numbers, right, other than these things, all are katai to me. Yeah? So 2, 3, 4 is there, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is there, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 is there, again 17, all those things are katai, yeah, to me. මේවා මට ලස්සනයි, මේවා මට කැතයි. මේ කැතයි කියනවට වඩා මේකට හොඳයි ලස්සන කියන එකට ගන්න නැති ඒවා. මම ලස්සනයි කියලා කියන්නේ නැහැ. දැන් හිතන්න මේ ටිකට මම ලස්සනයි කියලා කියනවා නම් මේවට ලස්සනයි කියලා කියන්නේ නැහැ. මම ලස්සනේව තෝරනවා. right? ලස්සන කට්ටිය තෝරනවා. නිකන් තෝරනවා. ලස්සනේව ටිකක් තේරුවොත් ඉතුරු වෙන්නේ ලස්සනයි කියලා තීරුම් නැති ඒවානේ. එතකොට එතන පට්ට කැත ඒවා තියෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. shape ඒවා තියෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. නිකන් මල් ටිකක් ගන්නකො. මල් වලින් මල් ලස්සනම මල් ටික තෝරගන්න. එතකොට කැත මල් ටිකක් ඉතුරු වෙනවා. shape මල් ටිකක් ඉතුරු වෙනවානේ. ලස්සන ඒවා විතරනේ ගත්තා. ගොඩක් ලස්සන නැත්නම් ඉතින් අරගෙන නැහැ කියන්නේ. එතකොට මෙන්න මෙතන මේක ඇතුලේ තියෙනවා shape ඒවා. ඒ shape ඒවා මොනවද කියලා තමයි මේ කියන්නේ. right? If you take this number 8, you can write this number 8 by using a nice number. That means a perfect square. Here, this 8, you can write down this as a product 4 into 2. While at 8 8 means 4 into 2. If you write this 4 will be a nice number. බලන්නකෝ. හරිද? දැන් ලස්සන කැත කියලා මම වෙන් කරද්දී සමහර ඒවා තිබ්බා අවුලක් නැති. පොඩ්ඩක් ලස්සනයි පොඩ්ඩක් කැතයි. එහෙම තියෙනවනේ. දැන් නිකන් හිතන්න කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක් දිහා බලද්දී එයාගේ ඇස් දෙක නම් ලොක් තමයි. තව මොන හරි කැතයි. එහෙම වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ලස්සනයි කැතයි දෙකම තියෙන එක. මේක ඒ වගේ. If you take this 8, පට්ට ලස්සන නෑ. අර perfect square එකක් නෙවෙයි. It is not a perfect square. But we can write down this number 8 as a product of two numbers. එකක් පට්ට කැතයි, 2 is පට්ට කැතයි, and 4 is පට්ට ලස්සනයි. පට්ට ලස්සන එකයි පට්ට කැත එකයි ලස්සන එකයි දෙකම තියෙන එකක් විදියට මේ 8 අපිට කන්වර්ට් කරන්න පුළුවන්. So the meaning of this, the square root is related to 4 and 2 both multiplied by 2. So the square root is related to both these things. So I got these two like this. So here the square root of 4 it is 2. So I can take it as 2 into the root of 2. So we can write it like this. Right? So such numbers මේ වගේ හදන්න පුළුවන්. මේ විදිහට හදලා ලියන්න පුළුවන්. මෙන්න මේ වගේ ඒවට square root of 8 and these types of numbers we are going to call them the entire surds, not the surds, entire surds කියලා කියනවා. හරිනේ? තේරුණාද කතාව? දැන් මේක අහගන්න. මේ පොඩ්ඩකට අමතක කරලා මේක අහගන්න. ඔයාලගේ ළමයි ඉන්නවනේ දැන් ක්ලාස් එකේ. ක්ලාස් එකේ අපි ෆිසිකලි කරොත් පිරිමි ළමයි සහ ගැහැණු ළමයි කියලා වෙන් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඔක්කොම ළමයි ටික නේද පිරිමි ළමයි ගැහැණු ළමයි කියලා වෙන් කරන්නේ. එතකොට එක ළමයෙක් ගත්තොත් රයිට් මෙයා පිරිමි ළමයෙක් කියලා. එයාට පිරිමි ළමයා කියලා කිව්වේ. පිරිමි ළමයා කියලා කිව්වේ. එතකොට එයා ළමයෙක් නොවෙනවද? නෑ ළමයෙක් තමයි. We are going to tell something more than ළමයා. By using the gender we have called him pirimi lamaya. So likewise this is a surd, right? This is a surd, but this has a specific feature unlike this. 4 into 2. We can write down this number 8 as a product of a perfect square and a normal number. Any other number, right? So such numbers we are going to give the adjective entire. Right? So we are going to call this surd as an entire surd. So after simplifying this, here you can see a rational number. 2 is a rational number because it is a whole number. It is a rational number. And again, the square root of 2 means we don't know the value. That means it is a surd. So that means it is an irrational number. So rational number into multiplied by irrational number. And again we have, this is a surd, again this is a surd, right? Because this is a surd multiplied by 2, again you will obtain a surd, so this will be a surd again, right? So this thing, it is known as an entire surd. Got it? Is that clear? Right. For now, just take this down. Don't write the lasana numbers and the kata numbers. But you should keep in your mind all the lasana numbers. That means all the perfect squares should be in your mind to do these things, right? Take this. Right. Okay, I will take another one. Right. I will take number like this 45, square root of 45. What can you see? My dear, try to write this 45 as a product of two numbers. One should be written as a perfect square. EQA 1, 4, 9, 16 are those numbers. Use these numbers and try to write this as a product. Multiplication. If you can write it like that, then it will be known as an entire surd. If you can write it, this will be an entire surd. If you can't, then you can't. Right? So if you can't guess from your mind, ඔළුවෙන් හිතන්න බැරි නම්, මනෝමයෙන් හිතන්න බැරි නම්, මේක මේ වගේ කාගෙන් හරි multiply වෙලා හැදෙනවද කියලා හිතන්න බැරි නම්, the way that you should simplify this is, you can follow like this. You can take 45 and divide all this. That means divide this number by using the prime numbers. This is not divisible by 2, so you can't divide it by 2. So I'm dividing it by 3. When you divide by 3, it will be 15. 15 again we can divide it by 3. So it will be 5. 5 cannot be divided by 3, so I'm dividing it by 5. So we can write 45. We can write down 45 as 3 into 3 into 5. Right. When you write it like this, 3 into 3 means, my dear, here it is 9. So 9 is there. And the special reason is you can combine these two and write down it as 3 to the power 2. Right? You can write down this like this. When you take 3 to the power 2, the square root of 3 to the power 2 into square root of 5. Right? You can cut off this square root symbol with the square and you can take that 3 out, and inside the square root you have 5. So you will be able to write it like this. So this one will be, that means again the square root of 45 will be an entire surd. This is an entire surd. Right? So you will be able to take it like this. හිතන්න බැරි නම් එකපාර මේක 9 into 5 කියන එක පේන්නේ නැත්තම්, practice නැත්තම්, don't waste your time. Just divide it by using prime numbers. So if you get two prime numbers, you can write down it as a power of 2. So you can cut off it with the square root, square and the square root, and you can take 3 out. The remaining part you can take it as the square root of 5. So that's it. So you can take it like this. Take. As a second example, you take it. Better to write this as well, right? If you don't know the method, you can do something like this. So take down this as well. Right, okay. Now we all know what are surds and what are entire surds, right? So now we are going to do two things. If they have given you a surd, we are going to convert it into an entire surd. And if they have given you an entire surd, we are going to convert it into a surd. So first of all, I will write down the topic. We are going to convert the given surd into an entire surd. Write down it, surd into entire surd, like this. Write down it like this. The given surd, we are going to convert it into an entire surd. Right. So I will take something like this. I will take an example. 2 into the root of 5. Right, square root of 5. I have something like this. When you are converting this is a surd, right? This is a surd. So this surd, when you are converting it into an entire surd, the first step, there are 2 steps. So the first step, step 1. The thing that you should do is, the given thing, you should first of all multiply it from the same thing. That means you should make the square of it. Right? I'll just write as square. Right? You should multiply it from the same thing. Use the square, right? So that means you have the sum as 2 into square root of 5. So we are using the square of this. Square means like this. Put a square. Right? Then you will understand. Same thing. We are multiplying from the same thing. 2 into square root of 5 multiplied by 2 into square root of 5. Okay. If you remove these things, this is, if you separate 2 into square root of 5 is there. Again into 2 into square root of 5 is there. Right? So now we can connect the 2 rational numbers together and the 2 irrational numbers together. 2 into 2, you will obtain it as 4, right? Into square root of 5 into square root of 5. My dear, square root of 5 into square root of 5 means here 5 into 5 means, actual thing is, the square root is common for both these things. 5 into 5. 5 into 5 means, again, 5 to the power 2. 5 into 5. Square root of that means square and the square root will be gone off and the answer will be 5. So keep in your mind, right? In square roots, I have told these things. Square root of 5, when you are multiplying from the square root of 5, if any number with the radical sign, if you are multiplying it from the same thing, you can remove the radical sign and write down the number. Number is 5, so you can write down the number as 5. The way you obtain 5, I have shown it here, right? That is for your benefit, right? When you are doing a sum, no need to write down all these things like this and show, right? You can just write down. So 4 into 5, the answer will be 20. Right? So the first step is done, so the answer came as 20. And the step 2, here we have put the square. That means we have taken the square. That means we have multiplied it by the same thing. Api balen square එක දාලා තියෙනවා. අපිට එහෙම ගන්න එකට අපිට ඕන ඕනේ දාන්න. Right? So we should remove that square. To remove that square, the opposite of that means, the opposite of the square, that means we should apply the square root. I'll just write as square root. You should apply the square here. Here you should apply the square root. So the number that we have is 20. For that number, we are just putting the symbol of square root. So here we will obtain the entire surd. This is what we call the entire surd. This is the surd right here. This is the surd. Here's the surd. We squared it and we got the answer as 12. Because we have put the square we have used the square root. We have to use the square root. So we have used it. Square එක දැම්මා අපි දැම්මේ ඒක අයින් කරන්න ඕනේ. Opposite of that, we are putting the square root symbol finished. So this is the entire circle. This is the entire circle. Right. Take this down. Next one will be the opposite of this. Entire surd to surd. We have done it previously also. Then චුට්ටකට කලින් කරේ. Right. First of all, copy this video. Right, okay. Alright. So now the opposite of this. That means the entire surd into surd. Right? Put number 2 and write out. Now they will give you the entire surd. Entire surd will be given. You should convert this into a surd. Opposite. That means if they have given like this, we should come to this way. Right. We'll see. Right. These are the steps that you should follow. Right? Nothing to teach. I taught you a few minutes ago now. If you take the same thing, let's take, right, the square root of 20. Right? Now you have the number as 20. So by dividing, just find the prime factors. Dividing it by 2, you will obtain 10. Divided by 2, it will be 5. Divided by 5, it will be 1. So you can write down these things. 2 into 2 into 5. Right? So here you have two same things. So you can write down 2 to the power 2 into 5. Right? So this one, the square root is related to 2 to the power 2 and 5 both. So here the square root of 2 to the power 2 and the square root of 5. Square root and the square will be gone off. So here 2 will be remaining. Here it will be square root of 5. So you will obtain this like this. Right? It is very easy. This is the easiest thing, right? Easy thing. Square root. Here, nothing to do. You should write it by using the prime factors. Right? If you don't know the prime factors, just start dividing from the smallest prime number like this and find it. If you have received any powers of 2s, you can take it out, right? You can cut the square root sign and the square, and then you can take 2 out. 2 out means the square root symbol will be gone off, so 2 will be out here, and inside the radical sign you can see 5, so you can write out 2 into square root of 5. That's all. Right? Take this out. See how easy those sums are. Nothing to teach. Actually nothing to teach. Right. That's all. Now I will move to the simplification parts. Right. You won't get these types of questions for the exam. Right. You will get only a single simplification question. So you should be capable of adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing. Right. You should be capable of all those four things. When you are doing those things, there can be any entire's, they can give any entire surds, right? If they have given entire surds, you should convert them into surds and then only you should simplify, because we should keep the answer. When they ask to simplify, we should simplify and keep the answer. So if there is any entire surd, right, we should convert it into what? A surd, right? If there is any entire surd, square root of 20 but we should write it as 2 into square root of 5. Likewise, we should write it as a surd. That means we should keep it in the simplest form, right? So first of all, write down the topic. I'm going to teach you addition and subtraction together, because those two are same way, right? Same way we are using those things, and multiplying and dividing also on the same way. So I'm separating the lesson into two parts: simplification part. The first part will be adding and subtracting. So write down addition and subtraction of surds. Addition and subtraction of surds. Addition and subtraction of surds. Right. Then after that, don't write anything, just see the book. I will teach you a nice method, right? It will be very easier for you. So follow those methods. Here, if you have something like this, 2 into the root of 2 plus 3 into the root of 2. If you have something like this, the thing that you should know is, you really don't know the value of this surd. You don't know how much is this square root of 2. You don't know the value of this square root of 2, right? That's why we call them the surds, right? Irrational numbers. So you don't know those values. So I'm requesting, if you don't know this, you can take this as x. Unknown term, you don't know, it's an unknown. So you can take it as 2x. I got it as x, so it is 2x. Here also you have the same number, square root of 2, the same number, you can take it as x. So in front of that you have 3. So here you have something like 2x plus 3x. May bage ekak තියෙන්නේ. That's why before starting the real numbers lesson, right? Before starting the real numbers lesson, that's why I taught you the binomial expressions and the algebraic parts, right? We did the 6th and the 7th lesson previously before this lesson, right? So now you know how we are going to add the algebraic terms. 2x plus 3x, you know the answer is 5x. You know it, right? So, because you know this, you can simplify this also like this. This is an unknown. 2 plus 3, it is 5, right? 5. Here, think it as x. If it is x, we are going to put x name. Now it is square root of 2, so just put square root of 2, so it is finished, right? So this is the way. Which I have written from blue. It is for your benefit, right? We don't know it. It is an unknown. It is a surd. So if it is x, are the same thing. The like terms we added 2 and 3, it is 5, so 5x. So same thing here, my dear. That's all. Right? I will do another one. Don't write. Right, I will do another one. 3, something like this, plus 2, something like this, minus 2 something like this plus 3 something like this. Right. Now tell me, we can take this as x. You don't know this value, so if I take this as x, you have 3x. Plus, this is also don't know, so we are going to take it as x. Is that so? No. If this is x, the same thing was there, so we got it as x. But it is not the thing that you have here. The number is changed. This is square root of 5 we got as x. So square root of 3 also we don't know, so we are using another letter, so it will be 2y. Minus 2 square root of 5, we have taken it as x, so we are putting x here. Plus 3 square root of 3, we got it as y, so 3y will be there. Now you can easily simplify, my dear. The like terms you can identify. 3x minus 2x, it is 1x. Plus 2y plus 3y, 2 and 3, 5, so 5y. So 1x we are not writing as 1x, so we are writing it as x plus 5y. This is the way of writing. So apply the same thing. මේක හිතද්දි හිතන්න මේ විදිහට කියලා කියන්නේ. ආයෙ ලියන්න එපා මෙහෙම. Don't write it like this. දැනට පැන්සලෙන් දාගත්තට කමක් නැහැ මෙහෙමයි හැදෙන්නේ කියලා අඳුරගන්න. අඳුරගන්න එක ඔළුවෙන් කරන්න. Think that this is x. මේ x වගේ දන්නේ නැති එකේ. එයාමයි මෙතනක් තියෙන්නේ. So you can identify these are like terms. So from 3 when you subtract 2 it will be 1. That means one set of square root of 5s. So we are not going to write it like this. Useless of multiplying with 1. So we are not going to write this one here. We are just writing it as x. So write down it as square root of 5. Here you had 2 into square root of 3. 3 into square root of 3. Same things. So same thing is there. Like terms. So 2 and 3 add them. It will be 5. So plus 5. Both these things was square root of 3. So you can write out the answer like this. Same thing you got, right? X means square root of 5 here. Instead of this, we have that. 5 into y. 5 into y means we got this as y. So you have the same thing. දැනට පැන්සලෙන් මේ නිල් පාටින් ලිව්ව ටිකක් ලියන්න. ඊට පස්සේ මෙහෙම හිතන්න පුරුදු වෙන්න. No need to simplify, nothing to simplify. Just you can take the like terms and add or subtract. Right? Only the like terms we are going to add or subtract. That means the same rules that we have used in addition and subtraction of algebraic terms. The same rules. Same as the algebraic expressions. In these surds, you should remember we don't know anything. We don't know the value. That's it. Right. Now see the next one. See the third one. Now we are not going to use algebraic expressions anymore. The only thing that I should tell you, right, you all should be able to simplify these things because these are same as the algebraic expressions. Algebraic expressions add kara, subtract kara, again the same thing. Only the like terms we are adding or subtracting, others we are keeping it like that. That's all. Right? So see the third one. Right. So how we are going to simplify this? Are there any like terms? No. Here you have square root of 5. Here you have square root of 20. Here you have square root of 3. So we should keep the answer like that. Is that so? No. The thing that you should identify here is, you can identify this 20, square root of 20. This is not a surd, this is an entire surd, something more than surds. So this one you should convert it into a surd. That means in the simplest form you should write down it. So 20 you know, 20 you can write down it as 4 into 5. So if you take 4 out of the square root symbol, that means 2 to the power 2, so you can take out as 2. So 2 into square root of 5 will come. So here you will get 2 into square root of 5. So here you have 2 into square root of 5 plus 2 into square root of 5 minus 3 into square root of 3. Now you can identify the like terms are there. The same thing here, the same surd is repeating here and here. So here 2 and 2 it will be 4. So 4 sets of square root of 5 will be minus 3 square root of 3. So this will be the answer. Other than this, we can't subtract. These two are different, so we don't have a way. So we should stop from here. The only thing that you should remember, the special thing, if they have given an entire surd, you should recognize this is an entire surd. So first of all, we should simplify this. We should write down it as a surd and then only we are simplifying. This is simplification of surds. In fractions also, can you all remember? In fractions, we did something like this. In fractions, we didn't add and subtract all the mixed numbers, right? The mixed numbers we converted into improper fractions and then only we simplify. Same rule, right? We are simplifying surds, so the entire surd should be written as a surd and then only we are going to simplify like this. Take this one. Right. Now let's move to the multiplication and division part. Right? A small part is there. So after that, I will finish teaching and then you all should do the exercises. Right? I will send you the sums, what you should do. So do those things. So it will be easier for us to move on. Right? So soon after the class, don't close your books and don't stay while doing any other things, and before the next day don't do the homework. Right? Homework means for just now. I'm the one who made all these sums. So soon after the class, just try the sums which I'm giving you. Right? So I will give you the sums. So the sums are in the tutorial. So do those sums and then finish the work for today. If you have any doubts, you can ask from me. Right? So let's move to the last part. Write down the topic. Multiplication and division of surds. Multiplications and divisions of surds. Multiplications and divisions of surds. Multiplication and division of surds. Right. Now, I told you all these things are like algebraic expressions. So here if we had an algebraic expression called 2x into 3y, if we had something to multiply like this, how we multiplied? The numbers separately we multiplied. The numbers we separately multiplied and the letters, that means the unknown terms, we separately multiplied. So 2 into 3 it was 6, x into y it was xy. So we multiplied it like this. Same rule here, also the same rule here. 2 into square root of 2 into 3 square root of 5. If you have something like this, right, you should separately multiply the rational numbers and the irrational numbers. Irrational numbers වෙනම ගන්න, rational numbers වෙනම ගන්න. Rational numbers කිය පරිමේය සංඛ්‍යා මේ අපි දන්නේ. දැන් නැතිව වෙනම ගන්න. Right, don't worry. So here 2 into 3, take this separately. 2 into 3, take that separately. Into square root of 2 into square root of 5. I'm asking you to take these two separately, so you can take it and write the answer as 6. Take these two separately. Here when you are taking these two separately, here also you have a square root, here also you have a square root. So square root is common for both these things. So here inside the square root you have 2 into 5. That means inside the radical sign you have 2 into 5. Right? So here the answer will come 6 into 2 into 5 is 10. So square root of 10. So you can write down it 6 into square root of 10. So you can come to the answer like this. Here. All these steps are just to teach. No need to write any single step. You can come to the answer directly. How? Like this. 2 into 3, 6. Right. Inside the square root, 2 and 5 is there. 2 into 5, 10. So inside the square root, we are putting 10. That's all we should do. Write another one. See, I will give you the time to write down. Just see this one. Here, see this one. If you have something like this, the two numbers 3 into 2 6. Write down it first. Inside the square root, you can see something like this. 5 into 3 it is 15. So you can keep it like this. Finished, my dear. That's all. Right. So by using a single step, you can take all those things. This is just to teach. Right. Take this down. Write down this first and show what has happened in the algebraic expression. Use a pencil and write this part. And then take the first example and the second example. So likewise, by using a single step, you can do these things. Right. I will do a division one as well. Right. I will take the sum like this, a division one. 4 to the root of 7 divided by 2 to the root of 14. See this one. In this case also again take separately these two. Take these two separately. So 2 divided by 2 it is 1. 4 it is 2. Right? So both are divisible by 2. So I divided. So now inside the things which are inside the square root, that means inside the radical sign 7 and 14, divide these things separately. That means here you have 2 into, right? Inside the square root you have something like this. In the upper part you have 7, right? The upper part you have 7 and the lower part you have 14. So separately divide these two. So you can cut off these things like this. 7 divided by 7 it is 1. 14 divided by 7 it is 2. So the answer will come. Here 2 into 1 means 1. Square root of 1, you know it is a perfect square, it is 1. So 2 into 1 it is 2. So the upper part will be 2. No any radical sign. So here you have the radical sign and inside that you have 2. So you should keep it like this. But there is a doubt. In this case, when the denominator, listen to me very carefully, when the denominator is a surd, right? If the denominator is an unknown thing, if it is a surd, if it is an irrational number, they will ask you to rationalize the denominator. We call this, right? This is an irrational numbers. So in these types of things, they will ask you to rationalize the denominator, right? That is what we call the simplification. They will ask to rationalize the denominator. To rationalize the denominator, the sum that we have obtained, 2 over square root of 2, right? So the thing that we should do is, we should multiply the denominator by the same thing. If the denominator is square root of 2, we should multiply it by square root of 2. If it is square root of 3, we should multiply by square root of 3. So if we are multiplying this, the upper part also should get multiplied according to the equivalent fractions. If not, it will be changed. So now, here the same thing is getting multiplied. Square root of 2 into square root of 2. So, I have told you before, square root of 2 into square root of 2 means our square root is common. So, 2 into 2. 2 into 2 means 2 to the power 2. Square root of that, these 2 will be gone off. So, the answer will be 2. If the same square root number will get multiplied from the same square root number, the answer will come as the same number, 2. So, here the answer will be, as the denominator, the answer will be 2. And the upper part will be 2 into square root of 2. This is an unknown. If it is x, 2 is a rational number and this is an irrational number. So, 2 into square root of 2 will come. Right? It will come like this. So, if it comes like this, now you can identify 2 and 2 again it will be gone off. So, you can cut off this 2 and this 2. So, the answer will be square root of 2. So, this will be the final answer. Got it? So, you can keep the answer like this. So, you are not going to stop from here, right? You are not going to stop from here. You are taking it up to this way. So, we call it the rationalizing the denominator part. Take this one also. Take this one. So, when you rationalize, the denominator will be a rational number, not an irrational number. That's it. After this, you can try the exercise 1.3. Right? In the textbook, you have the exercise. Exercise 1.3, you can try it now. Right? Other than this, the sums that you should do from the tutorial, I will send. Right? I will send the numbers of the tutorial. So, please complete the tutorial as well. Right? The work which I will send. Right? Only the homework part, that means the sums from the lesson number 1. Do it today itself, soon after the class. May ivara karapu gaman karanna. May exercise එක කරලා tute එකට ගියත් කමක් නැහැ. Tute එක කරලා මේකට ආවත් කමක් නැහැ. That's your wish. But you should finish all the exercises which I am giving from the real numbers lesson now itself. Right? And then I will give some more homeworks from the previous lessons. That means from binomial expressions and the algebraic fractions also. Those things you can leisurely do it tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Likewise, leisurely you can do those things. but the today's work you should do it now itself. Alright, so that's all I'm going to discuss with you all today. Next day I'm going to start the new lesson, that means indices and the logarithm. So the indices part I'm going to start it on the next day. Right, we are continuing online for this month because it is the vacation, right? You don't have the school, so we are not going to do the physical classes for this month, only for this month, right? This is going through online only for February, and then after February, that means from the March beginning, 1st of March, we are again commencing the physical classes normally on Fridays, right? So that means Friday we have changed the time, 2:30 to 5 you have time, so 2:30 to 5 we are going to the class, right? We have expanded something more than the time we had. So I will let you know at the end of February. For this month, we are continuing the class online like this, right? Okay, then that's all. Then stay safe, do all the work, and if you have any doubt, please WhatsApp me and ask the questions. Send me a photograph, so I will explain. So if you have a doubt, you can ask from me. Then stay safe, and God bless you.